Engineering students, today we are going to talk about how to come to a decision with your team about which design to use in your game. Now, to do this, we're going to use something called a decision matrix. Okay, this will help us to make a choice that is less subjective and more objective because we will score different ideas based on criteria, and the one with the highest score is the one we will go with. So in the column headers, we'll list the criteria and constraints. I've done this part for you. You can adjust these as your group sees fit though. Then you'll list the different ideas on the left-hand side. You'll create a rating scale, rate each idea, and the one with the highest score will be the one you go with. So here's an example. Here I have different types of material that I'm going to examine to see which would be best for creating models of puzzle pieces. The criteria I'm going to look at are listed here. So I'm going to think about the cost, reusability, geometry, connections, cleanliness, resilience, and testability. Other criteria I might want to consider are listed on this screen. My first idea is modeling clay. It's reusable, however, it's sticky and the geometry isn't very precise. My second idea are caramel cubes. They're cheap. They're pre-shaped, they're sticky, and they're also imprecise. The dice have good geometry, it's precise, but they're expensive. And then getting them to connect to each other is tricky. I could use centimeter cubes. As a math teacher, I have a whole bunch of them. They're precise geometry, they lock. However, there are some protrusions, like you see on this green one right here, sticking out. Another idea are foam blocks. They're pretty expensive, but they are reusable. They're going to require some tape again. It might fall apart pretty easy. I could also use sugar cubes. Those are cheap. I could use glue instead of tape. They might be messy, but the geometry is pretty uniform. So those are my 6 ideas. Now for this decision matrix, I'm going to have a ranking scale of 1 to 4. You can do 1 to 5, 1 to 10, whatever you feel like. Or if it's a yes-no thing, you could have a yes is a 2, a no is a 0. All right, so here is where I'm at. I listed each one of my ideas, you can see on the left, and then I have the criteria on the top, and then I scored them all. Because even though the modeling clay is fairly inexpensive, there's still more of a cost to it than, say, sugar cubes, okay? So that's why the cost is pretty low on the scale. It's a pretty bad cost. However, centimeter cubes are cheap because I have them. Sugar cubes are also really cheap. So the better they are for me, the higher the score. So for example, uniform geometry. The things with the most uniform geometry get the highest score. That would be the dice and the centimeter cubes. If it self-adheres, that would also be a high score. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So you're going to score everything. Okay, the things that are the best for you get the highest number. So then after you score everything, then you can add up the totals. And looking over here, my biggest total is 22. Those are the centimeter cubes. So that means that's the right decision for my group. Okay, and this idea I came to in an objective way. So what you're going to do is bring all these ideas together and use a decision matrix to make sure or to determine which one you're going to go with. This decision matrix will be collected and submitted as part of your final project submission that will be summative. So it is very, very important that you do this well. So in Schoology, I have an example, so you can look at that to guide you. And then I also have a template. So you should open this template, make a copy of it, so then you can fill this in. These are the criteria and constraints that I came up with for you. You can adjust these if you would like. I also have more than 4 rows over here. So if your group only has 4 people, you only need to use 4, or maybe you're going to use 4 individual ideas, and then maybe a 5th idea is one you've talked to about as a group, or you're taking a little bit from person A's idea, a little bit from person B's, and putting it together. So I should see at least 4 ideas over here on the left-hand side. So that's your first step today, is to complete this decision matrix. Then, after that, let me go to my slides, okay? You're going to work on developing that solution. So you've got your ideas, you figured out which one your team's going to go with. Now let's flesh that out. You're going to create a graphical model or a sketch of this final game board design that you've agreed on. Now, this sketch has to show enough detail that if you were to hand it to me, I could figure out how to build it. So you're going to have a lot of annotations on it because you're going to annotate the size and location of where your hole or holes or cups or whatever it is are, your targets. You're also going to have annotations that show your supplies that you're going to need. Where are you going to use cardboard? Where are you going to maybe use some plastic? And remember, all of these supplies are things that we're going to collect and find. They shouldn't be things that we have to go out and spend a lot of money on. Then you're going to, after that, you'll document the game setup. How will this be set up at your booth? The instructions, you'll make a list of all of the instructions, what the person will do, what they'll get for each thing. Remember, they get 3 tries. And make sure you're checking each other's work. Okay, when you draw out that design, pass it to the other people in your group. See what you should add or change to make sure they can follow it. If any modifications need to happen to your launcher, go ahead and work on that today as well. I'll be back the next day, and then we'll start actually building these game boards. These slides are linked in Schoology. You can also find all of this information in my PLTW. Okay, we're working on number 6 through 11 today. So if you go to 115, number 6, 7, go through the design or the decision matrix, and then 8 through 11 are those steps I just talked about. Have a great day, everybody.